Here's what preachers do. I know they try to be all humble and act like they will. But you know, one thing that preachers do, try to get in this Bible, they say, I'm going to get in here and try to find me something ain't nobody else ever found before. Huh? Is any preachers in here, am I telling it right or not? But sometimes the most powerful things, the reasons there's stories in here you've heard of, and you've heard them over and over, and even growing up and heard it, is because there's so much power in them. And so I'm going to read you the story tonight about David and Goliath. It's one of my favorites because I've been in it for about 3 weeks now, and I can't get out of it. And since I feel like we need the devil whooped off of us tonight, this is a good example because, you know, we just need to know who we are. We just need to know who we are. If we'll figure out who we are, we'll start to find out who you are. Find out who you are. Find out who you are. Find out. Poor as he could, poor as he could be, poor as he could be. I mean, just live by himself, live his whole life, live his whole life, live his whole life and die, live his life and died. So then see him and so then they're cleaning out his, and they got to looking at this, and they got to looking at this, and they got to looking at this picture, and so this picture painting was like painting, painting, painting. They they found out this painting dollars hanging on the old man's wall. Lived poor and broke and done without his. He lived his whole life with, and didn't know it the whole time and didn't know it. We got more than we've been told we got. Yeah, we just need to find out who we really are, because when we got born again, that something happened. I mean, we just didn't go and snot and cry, whatever. Something really did happen. The cross really did make a difference. I said the cross really did make a difference. I mean, I know we've lived like it don't, but it did. And the reason we're living like it don't, or have been, or used to, is because we just didn't know. We didn't know that painting on the wall was worth as much as it is. But now we're starting to find out. I'm glad of living in this times and what God's doing. He's doing something. Because He's saying, you know what, I can hear it. I feel it myself tonight. I told you I'm mad. I'm fed up. I'm tired of seeing the enemy beating people. Because the way I read and what we got, we ain't supposed to be losing.
Right.
I can hear, I can just feel the Spirit of God saying, enough is enough. There's people all over out here don't want nothing to do with church, don't want nothing to do with Christian. They think Christians a bunch of old washed up fuddy-duds. Well, they have been. Okay, is that too much for you? Let's see. I'm just going to show you right here. Listen to this. This is so good, and I'm going to read you a whole bunch of it. Is that all right? This is a good story. Not everybody growed up in Sunday school. Not everybody's heard all this. This is maybe my favorite story, because I'm telling you, when I read this, it does something in me, and faith rises up, and then the devil better look out. When this many people in here gets faith rising up, he better really look out. Somebody's going to get it. Listen to this. I'll skip a little bit just because it's long, but listen to this. This is, I'll set you up. Now, the Israel, God's chosen people, Israel, they come down. They're up on one side of the hill, up on a mountain. Then there's a valley, and the Philistines, that's the enemies, they're on the other side of the valley. And so, they're just touch and go, you know. It's war's about to break out. All right? And then there's this one great big giant dude that's of the enemy, and he comes down there every day taunting them. And he's a big dude. I'll just read you about it. And it says, Then a champion came out from the armies of the Philistine named Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, which is 9 feet something. He's a big rascal. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and he was clothed with scale armor, which weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze. He also had a bronze greaves on his legs, and a bronze javelin slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the head of his spear weighed 600 shekels of iron. I don't know how much that is, but it sounds heavy. His shield carrier also walked before him. He stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel and said to them, Why do you come out to draw up in battle array? Am I not the Philistine, and you servants of Saul? Choose a man. There's a picture of Jesus right here. Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will become your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall become our servants and serve us. Again the Philistine said, I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Judah, whose name was Jesse. And he had 8 sons, and Jesse was old in the days of Saul. 3 older sons of Jesse had gone after Saul to the battle. It tells their names, I'll skip that. David was the youngest. Now the 3 oldest followed Saul. But David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. The Philistine came forward morning and evening, 40 days, and took his stand. Now I want to say something right here. Because I'll read on. I'm going to read this and then I'll come back. All right? Is that all right? Because if I get going... Verse 17, Then Jesse said to David his son, Take now for your brothers an ephah of grain and 10 loaves, and run down and check on them and bring me news of how they are. And look into the welfare of your brothers and bring back news of them. For Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. So David rose early in the morning and left the flock with a keeper and took the supplies and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the circle of the camp while the army was going out in battle array, shouting the war cry. Shouting the war cry. They was gathering up and putting on their duds and acting like they really doing something and shouting about it and nothing going on. Then David left his baggage in the care of the baggage keeper and ran to the battle line and entered in order to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, behold, the champion, the Philistine from Gath, named Goliath, was coming up from the army of the Philistines, and he spoke these same words, and David heard them. Say, David heard them.
David heard them.
Done something to him. When all the men of Israel saw the man, they fled from him and were greatly afraid. The men of Israel said, Have you seen this man who's coming up? Surely he's coming up to defy Israel. And it will be that the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. Then David spoke to the men who were standing by him, saying, What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine, and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should taunt the armies of the living God? Then the people answered him according with this word, saying, Thus it will be done for the man who kills him. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was burned against David. And he said, Why have you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your insolence and the wickedness of your heart, for you have come down in order to see the battle. But David said, What have I done now? Was it not just a question? Then he turned away from him to another and said the same thing, and the people answered in the same thing as before. I want to say something about that, because I sat reading this Sunday morning, I saw something in here that I had never seen before. I thought, what's David doing? What's David doing? How come he asked 3 times? He said, They come along, the people said, this is what happened to the man. This is what the man will look like that kills Goliath and takes away the reproach from Israel. The king was going to give him his daughter. He's going to pour riches on him. He's going to make his father's house free in Israel. This is what's going to happen to the man that kills the giant. And David comes along and they said, tell me again, what does the man look like that's going to kill Goliath? And they tell him again. And then for long, I'd say he's probably asking more than it even reads here, because his brothers get mad at him. Like, what are you doing? And so he said, what? I ain't messing with you. Somebody tell me again, what does the man look like that's going to kill Goliath? I thought, what's he doing? Why does he ask that 3 times? Why does he keep on with that? And so I figured out, because here it comes in, and I'm going to read some more, but it says what was going on in David's mind. David's trying to get a vision of what the man looks like that's going to kill Goliath. He wants to know what the man looks like so he can see himself as the man. You follow me? Tell me again what he looks like, because I want to get this picture in my mind, because I'm going to be the man that's going to kill this Goliath. So I at least got to get a vision of it. I may not be there yet. See, I know I preach some stuff. I know that. I'm not so naive. But you know what? It's because I got a vision of something. I got a vision of who Jesus really is and what he's really done for us, and that he intends on us to live in victory. He's broken the curse over our life. He was beaten so that we can be fixed. He died so that we can live. He's got more in store for us than we think of. But as long as our vision is, well, we win some, we lose some. Well, sometimes we get healed, sometimes we don't get healed. If that's your vision, that's what you'll live in. I'm done with that vision. And I know the devil can't. See, he's been flared up. Am I the only one he's been flared up on lately? I'll tell you why he's flared up, because we've done declared that 2013 is going to be our best year yet, and we're going to see more miracles, we're going to see more power, we're going to see more lives change, we're going to see more people saved. You see, I'm not believing this old wishy-washy business of God sometimes works and God sometimes don't. I've got a dream down in my heart somewhere that I can get to the place where I've got more faith in the power of God than I do in the power of the enemy. We give the enemy way too much credit. God is stronger than the enemy. We are supposed to be winning at least more than we lose. I got me a vision. Tell me again what it looks like. Because if I can start seeing what it looks like, I'll start becoming what I see. Look here what happens. David says, and when the words which David spoke were heard. Oh, I like that right there. They told him to Saul, and he sent for him. David said to Saul, you see, when you get your vision, you start saying something different. I know religious works will tell you got to change what you say, and it's all in what you say. And I believe that, but you can't just change what you say and expect it to work. You change what you believe, and what you believe changes what you say. You just say something because you've been trained to, you're just religious. If you start believing something different and it changes what you say, then you'll see the power of God start working in your life. Because here David started talking. It said, David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Then Saul said to David, you're not able to go. I'm telling you, this gets next to me. Saul said, you're not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth. Well, he's been a warrior from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant was tending his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I went out after him and attacked him and rescued it from his mouth. And when he rose up against me, I seized him by his beard, struck him, and killed him. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, since he has taunted the armies of the living God. And David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and may the Lord be with you. And David took, then Saul tried to put his own armor on him, and it didn't fit. It was too big, and he hadn't worked with that stuff. So he said, I don't want all this stuff. I'm sticking with what I know. And David took it off, and he took his stick in his hand. There's a picture of Jesus right there. He took his stick in his hand. A piece of wood. He took a stick in his hand, chose for him 5 smooth stones from the brook, put them in the shepherd's bag which he had even in his pouch, and his sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. Then the Philistine came on and approached David with the shield bearer in front of him. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, with a handsome appearance. And the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog, that you come out to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine also said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the field." You see, back up there earlier it said this Philistine is uncircumcised. In these days they were under the old covenant. And circumcision was meant that you were in that covenant with God. That was the seal. That was the sign. If you're circumcised, that's how you entered the covenant. And so David is saying, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? He's not got covenant with God. I can see him saying, he said, this is the army of Israel. I'll tell you why this speaks to me. This is supposed to be the church. The armies of Israel. Some big shyster dressed up in all his garb comes down there taunting them. He ain't even circumcised. He ain't even got a covenant with God. There ain't no power in what he declares. But he marches down there 40 days, every morning, every night, taunting them, telling them that what he's going to do. He ain't got no power to do nothing. And so the church is running scared, living in unbelief, not knowing who their God is, not taking advantage of what he's done for them, what he said to them. They're just living in fear. They're living way below their means. Sound familiar? And then somebody comes along with a little bit of faith, smells like sheep, may have a little lion blood, a little tiger, bear blood still on his hands. And so here he comes down there knowing who he is, knowing he said, I got a covenant with God. Hey, this dude's taunting the armies of the living God. This dude's taunting God's people, aggravating God's people 40 days now. Ain't somebody about to get fed up? David marches off down in there, a little old boy. Then the older brothers, I'm just going to talk about it. Because we ain't been here very long. I know I'm young, and I know we're young. This not been here very long, and I hear what the older brothers are saying about us. I feel like preaching. This mess going on ain't cutting it. It's time somebody says, hey, I know who we are, and I know what we got. And there ain't no devil from hell going to keep God's people from living and walking in what they've got coming, what he died to give us. David's showed up. Where was I? Philistine also said to David, "Come to me, and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the field." There wasn't no power in what he declared, because he wasn't of the covenant. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have taunted. This day, not tomorrow, not next week, maybe next year. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and remove your head from you." This is a boy. "And I will give the dead bodies of the armies of the Philistine this day to the birds of the sky and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Pulley's Mill." Israel. "And that all this assembly may know that the Lord does not deliver by sword or by spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Then it happened. Amen. Everybody say, then it happened. Amen. When the Philistine rose and came and drew near to meet David, that David ran quickly toward the battle to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand into his bag and took from it a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone sank into his forehead so that he fell on his face to the ground. Then David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and he struck the Philistine and killed him, but there was no sword in David's hand. I like this what he does now. Then David ran and stood on the Philistine and took the Philistine's sword, drew it out of its sheath, and killed him and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. The men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines as far as the valley to the gates of Ekron. And the slain Philistines lay along the way to Sharim, even to Goth and Ekron. The sons of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines and plundered their camps. Then David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his weapons in his tent. I got me vision. And the devil should have killed me when he could. Because we ain't messing around. I'm telling you that the devil has whooped God's people long enough. And I'm telling you this, I'm not backing up. I'm believing God for total victory. I'm believing God that at the cross, He made a difference. That before He even went to the cross, He was beaten. And by His stripes we are healed. That's what the Bible says. Hey, I'm telling you right now that God intends on all His people to be healed. Not some people, not sometimes. And I realize we're not there yet. Okay? I realize we're not there yet. But if we leave our vision on that, we will always be that. I don't know about you. I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of that rascal beating and stealing and robbing from me and keeping me out of my stuff. I'm telling you, God's got a plan for us. And what we're going to go do, what we're going to do, you can't be sick, keep up with us. I'm telling you right now, God wants you healed. I'm telling you right now, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And it says he roams around as a roaring lion. Not is a roaring lion, as a roaring lion. That means he's pretending. That means he shows up. I think about old Scar on the Lion King, old scrawny, toothless liar. It says he's roaming around as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Well, being that it says that he's seeking whom he may devour, tells me that there's some that he may not devour. I'm ready to start thinking that we might be some of the ones that he may not devour. That when he comes around sniffing around us, he's going to go way on around, because every time he messes with us, we're just going to beat him down and we're going to step up higher. And he's going to say, I should have left him down there where he was. And then his greed overrides his intelligence. He come messing around again, and we're going to beat him down again, because we know who we are. We know what we got. We know we didn't get it because we're good enough, or because we're religious, or because we acted right. We got it because he loved us and he gave it to us as a gift. Now we're going to put it on and we're going to march out, and the gates of hell are not going to prevail against us. We're going to start getting what we got coming. Somebody better go sing. I'm telling you, when you start getting a vision of yourself of who he thinks more, I'm telling you, I want to start seeing myself like he sees me. Because I've read in here, he's seen something in me. Not just me, you too. He's seen something in me. I'll tell you how I know he's seen something in me. Because he bought me. He paid a price for me. I told you that you're valuable. I tell you all the time that you're valuable. And he said, the price ain't negotiable because we've done been purchased. As long as it's still sitting on the shelf, you might negotiate. You might Jew them down a little bit, or you might bicker on the price a little bit, but once the purchase is made, the value's done been established. I'm telling you, the purchase has been made. He's seen something in me even when I was rotten and no good. While we were yet sinners, the Bible says He died for me. And so He got ready to buy me back. Even God is just. Even God is fair, that even when He's going to deal with the devil and pay my way out, He ain't even going to cheat the devil. He's going to say, I know the price is big. I've searched all over earth to try to find something that I can take and trade for Jason. He looked all over earth for something to try to trade for you. He couldn't find anything valuable enough to make an even trade for you. So he searched all over heaven. He couldn't find anything in heaven that was valuable enough to redeem and buy you back there either. And so he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go myself. The only thing that I can find that's as valuable as you is myself. I'm going to go myself, and I'm going to give myself, and I'm going to pay the price so that you can be bought free. Huh? He sees something in me. I want to be what He sees in me. Hey, He sees something in you. You're more valuable than you've been told. I'm not spending my time telling you what's wrong with you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. You just need to know what's right with you. You see, if you was born a Forby, you do stuff that a Forby does. I mean, Forbies snore. Forbies just snore. I don't know why, but that's just something Forbies do. Now, I didn't have to start snoring to become a Forby. I got a new name. And I don't have to do anything to become that name. I become the name, so now I automatically become, hey, is anybody ready? Is anybody ready? I'm not talking about tomorrow. David said this day. I'm believing God. I'm going to try to find somebody I believe God for more than I'm going to believe. Well, I'm believing God. I'm telling you, I ain't going to be broke no more. I ain't going to be sick no more. I know, if you don't want to believe that, you don't have to. Just keep being sick and broke. He ain't going to make you. I guess that army, if David hadn't showed up, that army would still be over there, pacing back and forth, chewing their fingernails, thinking, well, God ain't going to do what He said He's going to do. God will do what He said He's going to do. What is it you need? I'm telling you, He's going to put it so much on us. He's going to make it so good for us. He's going to cause everybody else to be jealous, and they're going to want our God. He's going to put so much victory in your life, in your job, in your health, in your body, in your marriage, that they're going to know there's a God in my house.